Hey everybody, welcome back into the Spread. That's not football picks podcast. Have you ever watched a TV show or like listened to a program of any sort?
Are you angry at me right now?
Yeah.
Why? What happened?
Already?
Just let me get the damn words out of my. Can I get the title?
He said stuff too.
Because you started it. He was not going to say anything. You weren't going to say anything until he said
I was
something.
going to keep my mouth shut.
All right, I'll keep my mouth
How
shut.
hard is it to let me just say,
All right.
welcome to the goddamn show?
All right, who are you? Mike Cole, he's Ricky Doyle, I'm Andre Cacciatore.
Oh my God.
Can we get the standings for last week? Because I really enjoyed the standings last week.
This is where we make football picks against the spread. If you haven't figured it out by now, you probably don't care. Yeah, I'm Mike. That's Ricky. Andre, he just mentioned it. Before we get into this week, we'll do the top 3 games of the week, which is a arduous task again this week. We'll do some locks and upsets, show and tell, get out of here. Before we get into that, records from last week, Andre, run it through.
This is a fantastic week because I went 8-5. I led the way. Mike, you went 5-8, and you had a 3-game lead on me in the standings. Now we're tied for first place. How does that make you feel that you're tied with the jabroni for first place?
I just can't wait to get out of here.
All right, Ricky, you went 6-7, and you were in last place, but you're gonna do better.
Just biding my time.
Yeah, exactly.
Second half push.
You're a December guy anyway.
I'm still doing my calculations, my mid-season calculations.
Yeah. We're in November, guys. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Life is going very fast.
Yeah. How do you feel about
To the
that?
point where we just had a very passionate discussion off air about our favorite months.
Yeah.
It wasn't off air. It was all recorded.
Sure.
But it was on,
You might
whatever.
find it somewhere on SN.com sometime.
It's just we're one step closer to having summer back again. So that's, I guess,
Exactly.
a little
exactly.
spin zone for you.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that glass half full type of thinking that you just exuded.
And that's where the glass half full kind of goes away because we have to talk about week 9 of the NFL season.
Bad week.
This is like we've been saying this every week, and I don't care how pessimistic it sounds. I don't care how like
You're writing off football and
I don't know if I like football. I really don't. It
We
sounds
had
like
some good games last week, though.
it almost sounds lazy to just be like, whatever. Like it
Well,
doesn't.
when you put the
Seahawks-Texans was a great game last
See,
week.
I fell asleep.
when you
I didn't see
suggested
it. Second of that game,
the
I know.
3 games that we're gonna touch on this week, my first instinct was to rip into
Those
you
games suck, yeah.
because I was like, these games aren't that great.
And then
I
you
was
looked at
there's
the
gotta
schedule.
be something better, and then I look at the schedule, I'm like, all right, yeah, I guess he's on to something here because it's already pretty rough slate.
Yeah. So, what's the first game? NFC South showdown.
Yeah, we'll start on what time is this game? I'm
It's
sorry.
a 1 o'clock.
1
game. I
o'clock
put them in
game.
order. After you yelled at me in week 3.
I hear it is, yeah.
They're falling all night asleep right there.
The Atlanta Falcons, they're going to go. The Falcons got really, I don't know what the deal is with their new stadium. I don't know if they're hosting a bunch of concerts, some dirt bike stuff, the circus in town, what? They're on the road 3 straight weeks. They're in New England.
Patriots are going to be on the road for 3
Yeah,
straight.
that's true. They were in New England at the Jets, and now they have to go to the Carolina Panthers at Bank of America Stadium.
In Charlotte.
In Charlotte,
Oh.
sure. Yeah, that's where it is. NFC South matchup. As it stands right now, the Panthers are, was it 2.5-point favorites?
It was 1.5 points.
Oh, excuse me, 1.5 points.
On Tuesday. Maybe let's double check.
That is at 1.5, I'm sorry.
1.5.
According to our friends at Odd Shark. So, kind of a wild situation if you think about it. If you'd asked me this 4 or 5 weeks ago that the Panthers would be favored, sure, it's in Carolina against the Falcons, I would be a little skeptical of that, but that kind of says where the Falcons are at. Falcons have bounced back last week, beating the Jets on the road. They covered as well. Didn't look impressive, though. And it's been kind of a tough sledding for them for the last few weeks. And again, the Panthers, you never know what you're going to get from them. A little bit of a bounce back last week against the Bucs. This is a huge game in terms
Which
of
team had the more underwhelming win?
Yeah,
last week?
exactly.
It's really,
and it's like, and this is just, it's perfect. It's perfect NFC South football. Ricky, why don't you kick it off with the Panthers 1.5-point favorites at home?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Falcons. I trust their offense a little bit more than I trust the Panthers. And it's kind of as simple as that.
That's kind of where I've settled on, too.
You look at the Panthers, and their offense has been just putrid. I hate watching it, too.
Yeah.
It is like, it's watching like a college-style offense. It doesn't do anything for me. It's boring.
It's wild
They
because
just lost Kelvin Benjamin. Too.
right. That's
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt, but it's like when Cam is playing well, he's as exciting as anyone there is. It's almost like Rodgers, but like a different level of mobility, obviously.
Yeah.
When he throws good balls, it looks awesome.
It's dynamite.
He throws so many balls that don't look good at all, though.
Yeah.
So
A lot of wounded ducks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. The Falcons, you keep waiting for them to hit their stride. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. Obviously, they won the first 3 games of the year, but it's just been all downhill since then. Their offense has played much better against NFC opponents this season. I don't know if that's just kind of by chance. I mean, it could be, but sometimes you just need like one of those sloppy wins like they had last week against the Jets to kind of pull you out of it. Bad weather game. Gotta like the fact that they were able to go in there and steal that one, like you said, even cover in the process. So yeah, I'm taking the Falcons. I do think that they have some things going on in the defense as well. I think the Dontari Poe addition over the offseason is starting to pay dividends. Grady Jarrett, Super Bowl hero. He's playing real well of late, so I think they could make. It's up there with your Coney Ely pick. The best, one of the best performances in Super Bowl history. So yeah, I don't know. I like the Falcons in this one. I just think that they can make the Panthers a little one-dimensional.
I agree, Ricky. I think the Falcons. You guys always roll your eyes at me when I say this, but they have the best yards per play differential.
There we
go.
And
okay. While you can see you're angry right now.
No, I don't.
But they're playing the Panthers. As you mentioned, they can't really move the ball. Yeah. Cam Newton, his last 3 games against the Falcons, 0-3 with a 50% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. And that's dating back to his 15-1 season. I think the Falcons were the one loss that they had. Leads the league in interceptions. I mean, how can you confidently pick a team when their quarterback leads the league in picks? I just can't do it. And you're giving the Falcons points? I'll take that. And Matt Ryan's been getting good protection all year. He's only been sacked 12 times. That'll negate Carolina's good pass rush. So if it's anything they have is a good pass rush, and I think the Falcons' protection will help them.
Cam Newton, 26th in the league in passer rating, sandwiched between Jacoby Brissett and Jay Cutler.
That's not what you're looking for.
That's not a good stat for the former league MVP.
You touch on Carolina's pass defense. Carolina's got good defensive numbers. I think they're like top 5 in yards against and points allowed. Look at who they've done it against. Their wins have come against San Francisco, garbage, Buffalo, good team, bad offense, relatively speaking. They did really a good job of shutting them down. That game was in Carolina. The Patriots, that's the outlier. They gave up 30 points to the Patriots too. And Detroit and Tampa Bay, 2 offenses that have struggled this year. They lost to Chicago, but they didn't give up an offensive touchdown. But then again, that's the Bears' offense, and they're not very good. I haven't seen it against a really great offense yet this year. At least I haven't seen them play a good game. So I'm not going to sit here and say Atlanta's a great offense, but I think they clearly have more talent than the teams that I mentioned outside of the Patriots. And like I said, the Patriots scored 30 points on them. Carolina protected Newton last week, kind of kept them clean. That was against Tampa Bay. The Bucs pass rush stinks. We've been through this a couple times this season. A little bit different story against this Atlanta team. I like this Atlanta. It's almost to the point where I like the Atlanta defense more than I like the Atlanta offense. Some injury issues. Yes. Beasley, McKinley, both banged up. Assuming they both play, I think they have a clear advantage there. And it sounds like Devontae Freeman, he's got a shoulder injury. That's something to keep an eye on, but it sounds like he'll play too. So I don't know. It's just, like I said, I really like the point that you made. You just kind of summed up everything we said much more succinct. I just trust them more. It is what it is.
And on both sides,
really.
Especially on the Falcons' offense. They're one of 4 teams that have averaged more than 6 yards per play in the NFL. Like, they have that offense. They're just turning the ball over a lot early in the season. But Matt Ryan's cleaned that up in the last 2 weeks. No picks. So
I think that's a lot of it too. Is everybody expected their offense to be so good compared to last season. So when you do see them take a step back, it pops off the page a little bit more. And while this offense isn't what it was last year, if you do look back to last year, they did hang 81 points on the Panthers. So it's something to take into account when you're kind of assessing this, which is basically a pick 'em almost.
Yeah, and we could be in here in week 17, and I'm still going to say, well, I think this is the week the Falcons finally break out because there's just so much offensive potential.
Just a lot of talent on that team.
Exactly. All right, late Sunday afternoon. I'm not sure if this is. Let me double check. 4:30. 4:05 actually.
That's 4:05.
All right.
I would have missed the first quarter if you didn't remind me.
Yeah, 4:05. Washington, the Redskins, coming off a ugly loss at home in the rain to the Cowboys, have to go across the country to take on the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks busy at the trade deadline, picking up Dwayne Wilson.
Dwayne Brown?
Dwayne
the Rock Johnson?
I almost said, I think.
Russell Wilson's the quarterback.
Right, yeah,
so
you're right. Sorry, that's on me. Dwayne Brown. For Jeremy Lane, then that kind of fell apart. Jeremy Lane didn't pass the physical, so it's draft picks. Seahawks favored by
7 points.
A touchdown, 7 points.
That blows my mind.
That's a big number for the Seahawks team that struggled last week to contain Deshaun Watson. He gave 38 points last week to the Texans at home. This is a tough one to kind of make sense of. Washington's so banged up, a lot of injuries, especially in the trenches.
They can't even practice.
I know.
And
they issued. I'll get to this a little bit more later if you guys don't touch on it. But they issued an injury report Monday, day after the game. 13 players listed on the injury report just to start the week. They shouldn't even practice this week. It's just should be walkthroughs and maybe play some Madden and do some
reprieve.
They should practice on Madden.
Yeah, they should just do the practice mode on Madden. Seahawks, 7-point favorites here at home against the Redskins. Andre, why don't you start this one?
I agree. Redskins are banged up, but I'm just still surprised that this is a 7-point spread. I still like the Redskins a lot. I don't think at this rate in their schedule and all these injuries they will make the playoffs, but I'm going to take the Redskins plus 7 points. They're 9th in sack percentage. I think they can put some pressure on Russell Wilson. Remember last year I talked about Russell Wilson being a roller coaster. He had like 3 really good games, 3 really bad. He's doing the same thing again this year. First 3 games he had 5 touchdowns, no picks. The next 2 games he had 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. And the last 2 games, 7 touchdowns, 1 pick. So he's on fire right now. So what does that tell me? I mean, he's coming back down to earth. And what better team to do it against than the Redskins? Look, Wilson's on pace to throw the ball nearly 600 times this year. He's never done that in his career. There's no running game, a lot of pressure on him to succeed. And I don't know if he can really do that, like down in the long run. If he's throwing the ball 600 times, they don't really have a running game. I trust Kirk Cousins more to do that, throw the ball 600 times in the season and succeed than Russell Wilson. Does that kind of make sense?
No, it doesn't, because they're not going to throw the ball 600 times on Sunday.
I know, but I'm talking about in the long run.
Sure, yes.
But in the one game, though.
In the long run, yes, maybe that makes sense.
Okay, but in one game.
Okay,
in one game, the Seahawks' running game has struggled this year, and if Russell Wilson's asked to throw the ball more than 40 times a game, sure, he was able to succeed against the Texans. He barely won. He was good. But I think in this situation, the Redskins have enough to cover a 7-point spread is all I'm saying. I still think Seahawks can win the game, but a 7-point spread, I think we could see a similar shootout and the Redskins cover.
See, I don't think you're going to see as much of a shootout as you did last week, because I think you got a lot of plays from Deshaun Watson that you're not going to get from Kirk Cousins this week. He's not as mobile, obviously, and there's some issues, as you touched on that offensive line. These injuries that are all over the Washington roster, really it centers around the offensive line. They don't have an offensive line.
But don't you think that after one game under their belt, a lot of those guys were pretty raw. One game under the belt against the Cowboys.
But if they suck, they suck. You know, you're going to have 700 games under their
belt.
But
there are reports that they were signed like the day before. They didn't even know the playbook. Now they have a whole week of practice under the belt. They're going to play Madden.
I mean, there's a reason they were, hanging out in street clothes. There's a reason they were playing Madden on the side and not, starting for an NFL franchise. I mean, you bring in this ragtag bunch. I don't think they're going to get better in 1 week, especially going up a Seattle defense. Okay. Maybe that defense isn't quite as good as it's been in the past. But I think their offense might be a little bit better than it's been in certain years past. It's kind of a new identity, playing a little bit more up-tempo. They don't have that bruising running stat. They don't have any running game, really. But I don't know. It was Russell Wilson's played as good in recent weeks as he has. You mentioned the roller coaster, but I think he's done more this year than he probably has in any other year past. So I don't know. At home as well, that's a huge thing for me. I can't ignore how banged up Washington is. So I like the Seahawks.
You want to talk about Russell Wilson? This reminds me of, I'm looking up the numbers here. Reminds me a lot of that run he went on at the end of 2015. Not quite as good, but he's kind of playing similarly. We had 20. This is insane. I forgot how good he was. Last 7 games of 2015, 24 touchdowns, 1 pick, passer rating of 132.8. Not playing quite that well, but maybe he's putting together.
That's interesting. That was only 217 pass attempts.
Yeah. Sure, they definitely had a better run game, but I think you talk about the Washington offensive line. The Washington defensive line also some issues as well. Jonathan Allen is on IR. Matt Ioannidis out probably out.
Sounds like a disease name.
Yeah, no kidding.
Ioannidis.
They signed Arthur Jones off the street, which
like
again,
the whole locker room.
If it's kind of the same thing. If Arthur Jones was good enough, he'd probably have a team by now. So I think you talk about the injuries on the offensive line. The defensive line injuries could be just as important because, again, you kind of touched on, Washington. Maybe they are able to put pressure on Wilson. They don't have a running game, all of that. I wonder how that changes when, they basically are playing without, 2/3, two quarters of their starting defensive line. So, I don't know. again, it comes down to a little bit of trust thing for me. I trust Seattle a little bit more than I do Washington. The number is kind of high, but I don't know. The Seattle defense also played, like, they gave up 38 points last week. They still picked off Watson 3 times. You know
That's another thing. Redskins prone to turning the ball over too. 26 in the NFL, 13 giveaways. I mean, I could see that defense taking a couple chances here, maybe making a big play, scoring on defense.
I just think it's a big number, and
sure.
I'm expecting Wilson to not be as good this week than last week. That's all I'm saying.
Big game for both teams.
He's a roller coaster.
The NFC is wide open.
Speaking of the NFC East.
I was going to say, this is a rough stretch for the Redskins, too. Coming off back-to-back divisional losses, and then they got Seattle this week, and they got Minnesota, and then New Orleans.
It's just bad luck.
Which is basically
and then the Cowboys and Chargers after that.
So things like it's kind of like the Denver
talked about last week. It's just been a brutal schedule the entire season for them. It's been a tough go of it. So
Josh Doxson's gonna have a big game this week.
They need him to have a big game because they're kind of running low on just human beings. So
all right, phasing Terrell Pryor at all.
The Redskins lost to the Cowboys last week, and now the Cowboys will be playing the Chiefs this week.
Yes, this is our third and final
what
game.
A segue.
Yeah, sure. Chiefs Cowboys. 4:25 Sunday afternoon in Dallas.
Tony Romo's gonna call that game.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, I guess.
You've had this one circle on the
calendar.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
Currently listed as a pick'em at oddshark.com. I don't know, 2 of the better teams in football. It's been like this all season. We were talking, how many games do you really look forward to when the schedule comes out each week? And it seems like even the games you look forward to kind of don't live up to the expectations. Also got to mention Ezekiel Elliott. Can we just go ahead and say we're filming this on Wednesday? He's not going to play.
He's not going to play on Sunday.
It could change 18 times, I feel like.
I feel like they're throwing one more legal Hail Mary. Doesn't sound like it's going to work out. I feel like they were kind of in talks, at least according to reports at the trade deadline, about getting a running back. I think that kind of tells you what they think of this situation. So Chiefs, Cowboys, pick 'em Sunday afternoon, the number 1 spot. Ricky, what do we get? What do you got?
I'll take the Chiefs. The fact that it is a pick 'em, the fact that it is, as you mentioned, you probably in all likelihood going to be without your best player in that game. It's make a break, puts a lot of pressure on Dak Prescott and see what he has. I mean, it's kind of just a ragtag bunch of backup running backs. They're decent, but
McFadden
it's all guys who have somewhat of a track record, but don't really instill much confidence in me.
I agree.
It kind of goes back to their backups for a reason, but I could see this being a game where you get some good production out of Travis Kelce again. I like to see Kareem Hunt utilize him out of the backfield a little bit more from a pass catching standpoint. He didn't have much of a game against Denver, even though they covered. I think a 10-point game. Because Cowboys had some issues defending tight ends and opposing running backs, catching the ball out of the backfield this year. So I could see those 2 guys having a big game. The fact that as you mentioned, it is a pick 'em basically, and I just think at the end of the day, the Chiefs are the better football team still.
Sure.
I agree with you, Ricky. I'm going to go with the Chiefs over the Dallas Cowboys. It's even right now. It's a pick 'em. Look, Ezekiel Elliott is going to be a major loss because he's not playing. The guy, you saw what he did against the Redskins, and he just eats the clock. You gave him the ball, boom, 10-yard run, first down. He would have been able to do that against the Chiefs. Their defense isn't all that great in stopping yardage, and I think if Zeke played, it would have been a different story. But without him, a lot of pressure on Dak, as you mentioned, and the Chiefs allow a 53.8 completion percentage against opposing quarterbacks this year, which is the best mark in the league. So they can contain Dak at least. And what else was I going to say? I was going to say one more thing. Cowboys passers have stepped up. They're one of the best in the league right now. But Alex Smith only been sacked 6 times over the last 4 games. The Chiefs give him good protection. He's a mobile guy. He can get out of situations. And only quarterback in the league without a pick.
That's amazing.
That needs more play. Alex Smith is an MVP candidate. I like that guy. I like him. Doesn't take turnovers. You win the NFL by not turning the ball over. I take the Chiefs in this one.
I'm going to take the Cowboys. I'll take, again, I mean, we could sit here and throw out all of these, betting cliches and platitudes, take the better team and a pick 'em. Well, I could also take the home team and a pick 'em, and I will. Kansas City playing a short
Not
week.
against the Chiefs, who are 9-1 straight up and against the spread on the road in their last 10 on the road, though.
Hey, whatever. I'll still take my chances.
So,
you know what I mean?
Stack on that for a little bit.
I mean, great, good. You want to go to San Diego or Los Angeles or wherever the hell it is and beat them. Lost my train of thought. Anyway, Kansas City playing on a short week, played Monday night, tough game, divisional game. Dallas did travel, had a divisional game last week, but again, they're playing on regular week. I can imagine they're probably pretty fired up, not to get too much into the intangibles, but a nice win last week, divisional rival, maybe a little bit of us against them type of thing with Ezekiel Elliott kind of rallying around each other. And I do like that stable of running backs, at least in a 1 week vacuum against the rush defense that gives up 4.9 yards per carry, 29th in the league, that Kansas City rushing defense is.
Yes.
You can run on them.
You could, but Zeke's not playing. That's my point.
No, I know, but I'm saying that Darren McFadden, the combination of Morris, McFadden.
I love D-Mac. I hope you're right.
Played this year?
No.
Morris, McFadden, and Smith.
So essentially, I mean, just taking him off the sideline is.
He's at practice reps.
Those guys they're fresh. Spin zone, they're fresh. Alfred Morris.
I hope you're right, man.
Averaging like 13 yards a carry this year. It's all on like 138-yard carry, but so yeah, I don't know. I think I've seen Alfred. At least I've seen Alfred Morris do it before. Like I'm not. He's not totally.
He's not Aaron Jones.
Aaron
Jones
Alfred
did it.
Blue.
You could make. I'm not. I don't know. Do I want to make this argument? You could. You could argue it that Dak Prescott's better than Alex Smith.
Yeah.
So. Quarterback position is pretty important.
I don't know. Not this year. I think Alex Smith is better.
Sure. Yeah. No. I'm just. Yeah.
Actually, no. Alex Smith. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Very good question.
So, I don't know. I guess I could talk myself into this
Leave it
game.
in the comments.
It's whatever. Again.
Who's better, guys? Alex Smith or Dak Prescott? Right in the comments.
Kansas City at Dallas. What a game.
All right. Locks and upsets.
Yeah. Andre, when did you start it?
I had so many. I'm gonna go with the Jaguars I have so many locks that I want to do, but I'm gonna go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Why?
Is that your pick?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it
That's
was.
not what you put it.
Yeah.
That's not what you put.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah.
All right, then I'll pick something else. I had so many options.
So I like the Jags too. We make it a clean sweep and then move on to
Is that what you actually put? No, Jax.
Jax. That's short for Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
You also filmed my segment for the Hurry Up yesterday.
I know. No, actually, Mark filmed it.
Oh, well, you were around.
I was around. I should have known that. I'm very sorry, Mike. I'm going to go with my lock of the week, I guess. I'm going to go with the Raiders over the Dolphins on Sunday Night Football. I know you disagree with me.
Second time this.
The Dolphins are a bad team, and it's finally coming out. They got shut out by the Baltimore Ravens by a lot of points. That was an ugly loss. The Dolphins, second worst yards per play differential in football. I know that doesn't mean anything to you guys, but it sure meant a lot on Thursday night last week. Look, neither defense forces turnovers. Both of these defenses allow high completion percentages. But at the end of the day, if it's two poor defenses, I'm going to go with Derek Carr over whoever the hell is starting at quarterback for the Dolphins. Matt Moore?
That's Cutler. Jay Cutler's back.
Or hey, even better. I think it's even more on Derek Carr's side then. Carr hasn't been sacked in the last 2 games, only sacked 9 times this year. Gets good protection, it's a good line. And Miami, 4.1 yards per play this year. It's just bad. They don't move the ball. I know Oakland really can't stop any yardage, but I'm going to take the Raiders minus 3.
They just traded away their best offensive player, arguably their best offensive player too. The Dolphins did. Jay Ajayi.
Yeah, didn't even mention that.
Adam Gase called them, said they had the worst offensive football.
Speaking of
He's
bad
the head
teams,
coach of that team.
I'm gonna take another. I'm gonna go in that with
Sunday
that
Night
train of thought
Football?
for
Why
my
are they
lock.
hosting Sunday Night Football?
So wait,
Too
before
many
you get to
games.
it, Thursday night, Dolphins played. Sunday night, they're playing. They play Monday night next week, week 10.
God.
This is way too many Dolphins swimming around here.
Yeah, I mean, they're still, what, over 500?
Yeah.
I know. It's just
Fraudulent. Fake, fraud, phony.
with you, but
Get to that in a little bit.
I'll take for my lock. I'll take the Saints, 7-point favorites over the
Sure.
Bucks, who are just a mess right now. I mean, they've looked terrible during their 4-game losing streak. Flip side, Saints look pretty good during their 5-game winning streak. Jameis Winston, I think he's still a little banged up. Saw that against the Panthers last week. So yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't see any reason to believe that Tampa's going to win this game in New Orleans. That's just another factor involved here. You look at the Saints defense, how good they've been lately. It's pretty good.
The,
Sean
7
Lattimore,
yards per
love
play
him.
over the last 5 weeks. It's amazing.
the Saints
You
are
ramp up Willie Snead, add another dynamic to that offense.
Saints are the like the anti-Redskins, and like that sounds kind of offensive. But they've had a pretty favorable stretch here, where they got Brett Hundley making his first start. They had the Bears at home, and now they get the Bucks, who suck. The Bucks are terrible. For my lock, I'm going to take spoiler alert, Jacksonville.
Sorry for spoiling that.
4.5-point favorites against Cincinnati. I took Cincinnati as my lock last week. They almost lost to the Colts at home, so they get put in the.
By the way, I gotta give you props for that pick last week, Colts. That was great.
Wow, good for you.
Thanks.
Jacksonville coming off the bye. They're relatively healthy. Leonard Fournette looks like he'll be back from, I think it's an ankle or a toe. Jacksonville third in the NFL still, the +8 turnover differential. They're at home this week where they're +6. Cincinnati 30th in turnover differential and 30th in the running game. If they can't get the running game going on first and second down, you get in third down against Jaguars, team that likes to pin it to your back in the pass rush. Could be a long day for Andy Dalton. So take the Jaguars. I'm like in a weird, bizarre world. I get to this when I get to my upset. Actually, you know what? I'll kick off the upsets.
Go ahead.
My lock. This is
you are the host with the most.
This is NFL. NFL in 2017.
I hate mine. So
for my lock, I'm locking in the Jaguars, and I'm using the Packers as an upset pick at home on Monday night in prime time against a Lions team that really isn't that good. That's how valuable Aaron Rodgers is to the Packers. He is still out, as you guys may have heard. He's probably out for the rest of the season. Brett Hundley now has got 3 weeks under his belt with the first team. They're coming off a bye. I have to imagine they've done a little bit of prep work, although I don't love the report that came out and said the Packers looked into Brian Hoyer, which can't be a good signal to send to Brett Hundley. But
I mean, who's their backup?
It is what it is. Joe Callahan, he's a guy they've had in this
straight off a box.
Sounds like a good
I don't know.
S6
The quarterback thing is always weird because it's like, everybody like as soon as, and especially now, as soon as the quarterback goes down, it's like, you bring in Kaepernick. And I don't want to get in the political thing or whatever, but it's like, I don't know, you probably, as NFL coaches are weird, like creatures of habit, you probably just feel better with the guys who know the system, even if they suck. So that's probably why Joe Callahan still has a job. But that's
unless Scott Tolzien's your quarterback.
Yeah.
In which case you have no problem.
Actually, Scott Tolzien, not bad with the Packers when he was thrust in there for a few weeks when Rodgers got hurt a couple years ago.
Should have made a deadline,
wasn't great. Certainly wasn't good.
Joe Callahan played college football at Wesley in Dover, Delaware. Division III
I'm sure we're going to get his entire resume in the comments section if history is any indication.
Francis Joseph Callahan.
We'll know his high school stats by the end of the week.
One other thing.
This guy gets in the game.
Yeah, if he does, then my pick is screwed. But Packers, like I said, coming off a bye, they're healthy. This is the first week that they're going to have their entire starting line, offensive line, healthy and playing at the same time. That's insane. It's November, as we mentioned.
Division III quarterback.
Stafford, much worse on the road than he is at home, so I like the Packers. 84%, I looked this up yesterday, so maybe it's changed. According to SportsInsight.com, 84% of the spread bets coming in on the Lions, fading the public here on Monday night.
My upset. There's not a lot of upsets this week.
No,
so
that's the thing.
I dug into Thursday Night Football. I know we don't like to do that.
That's fine. There was not a good
I'm
week
going
there.
with the Jets over the Bills. Jets are 3-point underdogs. I think the Bills are the overhyped team heading into this week. Every week there's that one team. Everyone's, that team is great. Bills are that team this year after that huge win over the Raiders. Look, Bills are a completely different road team than at home. They average just 3-point yards per play on the road. That's worse than what Miami's averaging on the total season. So the Bills, they can't move the ball on the road. Jets have a decent defense, 13 takeaways, which is 6th in the league. Tyrod Taylor's good at protecting the ball, but 3 of the last 4 games have come against bottom 3 teams in takeaways, the Bengals, Raiders, and Falcons. So, I mean, yeah, he's good at protecting the ball, but what's that mean when it's against those 3 teams? So Jets, I think they'll win this game. They're at home. I like it.
Feels a lot like when these two teams met Thursday night last year, that Color Rush game. The Bills were favored. That game was in Buffalo. Bills were favored. They ended up losing.
Perfect Thursday night teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. They should just play every Thursday night.
The crazy thing, it's like the 3rd, 4th best game of the weekend.
They're like the NFC East is always on Sunday night, it seems like, and they're always on Thursday night. All right, my pick. I was gonna take the 49ers over the Cardinals, but then I thought about it, and I'm like, I don't even know if I would consider this an upset. There's a lot of those games where I'm like, what's determining the upset here? Just the spread? So I'm going to take your lock. I'm going the other direction. I'm going to take the Dolphins over the Raiders. And I'm basing this heavily on trends here. Hear me out.
All right.
All these trends, courtesy of our friends at Oddshark. I love what they throw out there on a week-to-week basis. The Dolphins, 11 consecutive straight-up wins at home versus West Coast teams. We sat here last week and we made a mockery of the Raiders' struggles in the East Coast. Then they got throttled by the Bills. They're now 4-20 straight up in their last 24 games on the East Coast. Dolphins 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 as home underdogs. Raiders 4-8 against the spread in the last 12 as road favorites. It's all coming up. Jay Cutler and the Finns this week. Devontae Parker back, going up against that Raiders secondary that stinks to the high heavens. One of a handful of defenses you want to play if you're a terrible offense.
Let's watch this game together on Sunday night.
So
Let's meet up somewhere.
I will take the Dolphins at home in that just raucous environment of Southern Florida.
I love that. That was a great rant. I love it. All right, show and tell.
Go Finns, baby.
All right, I guess I'll kick things off.
All right, go ahead.
My show and tell is going to be a pick and a show and tell at the same time. It's going to be fantastic. I'm very excited to give it to you guys.
I brought in like a random collection of objects for the next show and tell. I don't know which one I want to use.
This is a portable air tank. Found it somewhere in the building. I hope someone doesn't need it.
It's a big tank, though.
It's a portable air tank. So I looked at this. I'm like, what is a portable air tank used for? And I went on Google and I looked. It's basically a good way to have air on the road. If you run out of air for anything,
it's like if you're too stupid to realize that you have to refill your air in your tires.
Exactly. So this is a portable air tank. So who's running out of air right now? Who plays in high elevation? It's the Denver Broncos. They're 7.5-point underdogs to the Philadelphia Eagles this week. And I think they're out of air. So I'm going to get this. I'm going to buy 53 other air tanks and ship it over to Philadelphia this week for the Broncos because I think playing in the Mile High City, they've just lost air. They don't have any air left in their tank. So this might help them. But I don't think it's going to help them, Mike. I'm going to take the Eagles minus 7.5. Look, Trevor Siemian just stinks. He looked helpless against Chiefs defense. 1-4 in the last 5 games, 3 touchdowns, 8 picks, sacked 19 times. The Eagles have a good pass rush. They're 19 sacks. They're just going to tear the Broncos apart. They're going to need this for the rest of the season.
It's Joseph. No longer having the time of his life.
He is not. Ugh. Here he is. No longer having
a couple things.
the time.
Did I use this last year?
What is that?
Draft Day on DVD featuring Kevin Costner, who was just really the greatest GM in the history of sports in this movie, and what he was able to pull on draft day for the Cleveland Browns. And they could have used them on trade deadline day because the general ineptitude in that organization is shocking. It is absolutely shocking, but it made for great entertainment because it gave us a reason to bash the Browns, and really not that you need a reason week to week. But watching the reactions of some of the pundits in Cleveland, the hosts reacting to their botched attempt to acquire A.J. McCarron. I love how they just want to break the bank for A.J. McCarron of all people. It's just on so many levels. Their trade deadline day was a disaster. So they really
got to stick with Kessler, man.
They really could have used Kevin Costner in their front office to pull the strings because
they are bye this week, right?
Disappointing season.
They can't lose this week.
I was among those who thought that they were going to be decent.
I was talking to a friend from the Ohio area, and he said if the Browns moved this time, he really wouldn't care that much.
I'm sure that's a sentiment shared by most.
In the same vein, we have to start running these by each other because this is embarrassing. I brought
to use my California Raisin CD.
No, I was like, as you were doing yours, I'm like, can I call an audible on the fly? And I'm not smart enough to do that. So I got some sticky notes. They're for the Cleveland Browns because apparently the Browns needs a few reminders here. So let me write this down. Call NFL office to finish trade. And so maybe a story came out that they had a deal for A.J. McCarron, and that fell through because the Browns were too busy celebrating the fact that they were about to send a 2nd and a 3rd-round pick to Cincinnati for A.J. McCarron of all people, which is an insane trade to begin with. They forgot to call it in. It was too late when they realized, so maybe a sticky note would have helped. Let's see here. Draft quarterback that doesn't
I'll give you
suck. Here's another one. Let's put this around the office, around the football office, considering they've had a chance to. What is the list of guys that they've had a chance to draft? They could have had Deshaun Watson. They could have had
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, I mean, sure. They could have had Jared Goff, if I'm not mistaken. They could have had Carson Wentz. Now they have what? Hulk Hogan.
Deshaun Kaiser.
Hey,
you gotta give Kessler a chance. He's the only Browns quarterback since the start of last year.
Phil Kessler's brother. Ryan Kessler's, Phil Kessler's, whoever the hell.
This is such a
Ryan Kessler.
Such a perfect tagline on this DVD for this Browns-related DVD. The greatest victories don't always happen on the field. That's something that would come out of your mouth. Also, I'm not sure what the Rotten Tomatoes score on this is, but
Look that up
there's an exquisite review on the back from Eddie George, Heisman Trophy winner, former NFL running back. He said it truly captures the behind-the-scenes excitement of what really happens. It's an incredibly feel-good movie, unlike the Brown season.
Rotten Tomatoes rating. Actually, that's just end the show.
Yeah, we're out here.
No, you can Google it yourself.
Wait,
See you
in
later.
between your air tank
Oh, there it
research,
is.
you can
60%.
you can
Not
look
bad.
that up.
That's bad.
I watched it on a plane. Great plane movie. So Kevin Costner, the GOAT. We'll be back again next week, maybe, or whatever.
It's like the Stanley Cup.
No, it's not. It's nothing like the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
That it's not the Stanley Cup. That's how it's not. Like, goodbye.